Hello everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. In today's video, we are going to discuss the most important questions of Unit 1, 2, 3 of OOPS with Java. Are you preparing for Java exams or trying to understand OOPS concept clearly? So this video for you exactly. Today, we will cover the most questions which are comes in your previous years. So let's begin. As I told you in this video, we discuss unit 1, 2, 3. So this is first we start with unit 1, which is Java basics and OOPS. Let's talk about 2 marks question. So the first question will be define platform independence in Java. So this is basically one of the most biggest advantage of Java is platform independent, or this is also feature of Java, and this means you can write your code once and run it on any system as long as it has JVM installed. Only there is a condition that JVM is installed in the computer system. So this is platform independence means that a Java program can be executed on any operating system, Windows, Linux, Mac OS, as long as it has the Java virtual machine, which is JVM. This is achieved through the write once, run anywhere, which is VORA principle, and where the source code is compiled into an intermediate format called bytecode. So in platform independence process, the source code is compiled into intermediate format, which is known as bytecode and rather than machine specified code. So this is the meaning of platform independence in Java. Now moving to the next question of 2 marks, the question will be what is bytecode? So when we compile a Java program, it doesn't convert directly into machine code. Instead, it generates bytecode, which is executed by the JVM. So this what means Java portable. So Java portable is basically bytecode is or bytecode. First, we understand what is bytecode. So bytecode is basically intermediate, highly optimized set of instructions generated by Java compiler Java C. So Java compiler compile Java code which we write into bytecode, source code into bytecode, and when it compiles source code .java file and it is stored in .class file. Alright, bytecode is not a machine code, it is an intermediate code, and for any specific hardware, instead it is designed to execute by the JVM. So this makes it Java portable. Moving to next question, which is difference between JDK and JRE. So let's understand this simply. JDK stands for Java Development Kit, which is used to develop programs. And JRE stands for Java Runtime Environment, which is used to run programs. So JDK includes JRE plus development tools. So it is a JDK is basically it is a full software development environment used to develop Java applications. It includes the JRE plus development tools like compiler, Java C, debugger, and documentation tools. So JDK contains JRE, and JRE is basically Java runtime environment. It is a part of JDK that provides the minimum requirements to a run Java application, and it consists of JVM and the standard Java class libraries. So JRE is inside the JDK Java Development Kit. So this is a kit which consists JRE. Moving to next question, which is what is purpose of static keyword? This is the most important question. So what is static keyword? So let's understand. Static keyword is basically used to primarily for memory management. It signifies that a particular member which is which can be variable or method belong to the class itself rather than the individual instance of the class. So static is basically non-changeable variable which is signifies particular member and belong to the class itself. And we have static variables and methods so shared among all the objects of the class, and static method can be called without creating an object. This is the feature of static keyword that we can call any of the like static method without creating an object. The next question will be define encapsulation. So let's understand what is encapsulation. Encapsulation is basically holding the code in a block, like we have a medicine in the capsule. As same like encapsulation is one of the four pillar of OOPS that involves wrapping data uh, and methods together. So OOPS that involves wrapping and code together into a single unit called class, and it is used for data hiding by making class variable private and providing access to them public getter and setter methods, ensuring better control and security. So this is the encapsulation. Moving to the 7 or 10 marks questions of unit 1. The first question will be explain the Java architecture with a neat label diagram. So let's understand what is JVM architecture. So the JVM architecture is basically core of Java, and it is a like it has three main parts: class loader, runtime memory, and execution engine. And the execution engine includes interpreter, JIT, compilers, and garbage collector, which automatically manage memory. So JVM is basically is the heart of Java. Write once, run anywhere nature, and it is an abstract machine that provides runtime environment for bytecode execution. And we have three main subsystems like class loaders, runtime areas, and execution engine. So what are class loader systems? So these are basically responsible for loading, linking, and initializing the .class files. Runtime areas is basically method areas like store call, store classes, level data, which is a static variable method code, or heap area where all objects and their corresponding instance variables are stored. And we have stack areas as well, store local variables and partial result for every thread. And PC registers basically contain the address of current instructions being executed. And we have native method stack as well, which contain whole native method information. And the last system will be execution engine, which contain interpreter, JIT, and garbage collector. So interpreter is basically reads bytecode and execute instruction one by one. So this is the uh, most of the time also questions are coming like what is difference between compiler and interpreter. So interpreter is basically reads bytecode and execute instructions one by one, and compiler compiles source code at once. All right, so reads bytecode and execute instruction one by one slowly. And JIT is basically just in time compiler, compiles frequently used code, which is hotspots, into native machine code to improve performance. Garbage collector is basically automatically manages memory by deleting unreachable objects. The next question will be describe four pillars of OOPS with code examples. This is the most important question and comes in every year. So let's understand. As we know, we have four pillars, which is OOPS concepts, encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, and abstractions. These are the four pillars. So let's start understanding from the first, which is encapsulation, also known as data hiding. So the practice of bundling data and method into a single unit, which is class, and restricting access to the inner working, this is known as encapsulation. We have an example like making variable private and using public getter setter method, we hide the code. So we have class and we make a the balance variable which is basically private. Access modifier is private, means we want to like hide this. So we have double variable and we make a public void set balance like setter and getter methods there for the which contain this dot balance is equals to value and return balance to get the value. The next will be inheritance, which means reusability. So this process where one class acquires the properties of another class, it creates is a relationship like child class can inherit the properties of parent class using extends keyword. So let's understand with the example. We have class animal which contain void eat method, which executes that eating will be print in the terminal, and or output will be given from this code will be eating. And the next class will be dog, which extends a property of animal like dog is a child class and animal is a parent class, which inherit the property of parent class. And we have a method here is will be void bark, and system.out.println is used to print this code. So we have barking output of this. So we will get output as barking. So both are printed there because we use system.out.println and we create two classes. This is child class and this is parent class, which inherit the parent class properties. The next topic will be polymorphism, which means that maniform. So the ability of a single action to behave differently. We have two types of polymorphism, which are overloading and overriding. Overloading is also known as compile time polymorphism and overriding is known as runtime polymorphism. Overloading, which is compile time polymorphism, which contains that same method name different parameter. So we have to create same methods. We will create same methods, but we will use different parameters. So this is known as overloading polymorphism. And overriding will be child class provide a specific implementation of a parent class like this, and we will use same like in this class we will use same method and we will change this. So the like if we will create void eat here also, and we will write barking. So the the output will be barking, not eating, because we will override, we will change the like function functions output by overriding them. All right, so we will have an example like class shape void draw system.out.println drawing shaping. See, okay. Now we have a class circle and extend shape. All right, so this class will be child class and shape will be parent class, which child class circle contains or inherited all the properties of shape. So we will create void draw method again and we will use as a rate override functional independency because we want to override them. All right, and we will change drawing circle. So the output will be drawing circle, not we will get output drawing shape. The next like topic will be abstraction, which is complexity hiding, showing only essential features to the users and hiding the background implementation. So the code will be abstract is basically hiding. So abstract class we will create to hide this. So we have abstract class car, abstract void engine type. So we will create engine type method which is of abstract, and class Tesla extends the car class. So Tesla is a class which inherited the properties of class, and we will create void engine type method same, and we will provide the what the function this will perform. So this will print electric. The next question will be comparison between abstract classes versus interface. So let's understand. On the base of these features we will differentiate them. So on the basis of method, abstract class can have both abstract and concrete with body methods, and on the basis of methods interface until Java 8 only abstract methods are there, but now allows default and static method also. When we talk about inheritance, a class can extend only one abstract class, but an interface class can implement multiple interfaces. On the basis of variable, abstract class can have final, non-final, static and non-static variables, where interface contains all variables and implicitly public static final. We have constructors also, and we differentiate on this basis. So can have constructors and interface cannot have constructors. So by or when to use them. So use abstract classes when classes share a common identity, like dog and cat are both are animals, and use of interface is basically when classes shares a common behavior, like class and car and bird can both be movable. So when we talk about behavior, so we have to create interfaces, and when we working with both are animals or like we both category, so we both or common identity, we will use abstract classes. Moving to next question, which is explain Java compilation and execution process. So Java uses a unique two-stage process that combines compilation and interpretation. We have source code dot, which is saved in .java file, and we have compilation process loading and verification, and the last will be execution. So let's understand. The programmer writes a code in a human readable format, this is known as source code. The Java compiles, Java C translates the source code into bytecode like .class file. And bytecode is platform independent intermediate language. This is known as compilation process. Next will be loading, where the JVM class loader loads the .class file into memory, and the second last will be verification. The bytecode verifier check from security violation or illegal code, and execution will be the execution engine like interpreter plus JIT compiler converts the bytecode into machine code that the specific hardware CPU can understand. Moving to next unit, which is exceptions and input output multi-threading. So let's discuss 2 mark question of this unit. The first question will be difference between checked and unchecked exceptions. So let's understand. Checked exceptions is basically like checked are detected to compile time, and unchecked occurs at runtime, and these checked by the compiler at compile time, and the programmer must handle them using input output exception and SQL exception. And unchecked is basically occur at runtime, so they are not checked by the compiler, and they usually indicate programming logic errors, so we have to use these exceptions to correct them. So these are like arithmetic exception and null pointer exception. We have next question, what is use of final block? So the final block is used to execute important codes such as closing a file or database connection. It always executes regardless of whatever an execution is handled or not. So, or even if there is a return statement in the try block, we will use finally block there. The next question will be define a thread in Java. So thread is basically a lightweight unit of execution within a process, and it is the most like smallest unit of programmed instructions that can be managed independently by schedulers. Multi-threading allows a program to perform multiple tasks concurrently to improve CPU utilization. The next topic will be what is synchronization. So synchronization is basically a mechanism that controls the access of multiple threads to any shared resource, and it ensures that only one thread can access a resource like method or block of code and at a time, preventing data inconsistency and thread interference. So this is the synchronization. The next question will be difference between throw and throws. So throw is basically used to explicitly throw a single exception inside a method body, and throws is used in a method signature to declare the method may throw one or more exceptions, passing the handling responsibility to the caller. Moving to the 7 or 10 marks questions of unit 2. The first question will be explain the thread life cycle with a diagram. So you have to create like in the new runnable running log and terminate in a circle, and you have to connect them. So first stage will a thread is basically Java always exists in one of the following 5 states. So now the first will be new state, when a thread object is created but the start method is not yet called. So this is the new step or state. The next will be runnable state, where after start is called, the thread is ready for execution and waiting for the thread scheduler. The next will be running state, where the scheduler selects the thread and the run method is executing. And the fourth will be blocked or waiting. The thread is alive but not eligible to run. Example, waiting for input output or a lock. The last state will be terminated, which is dead state. The thread has finished its task or has been stopped. The next question will be how is exception handling managed in Java, and explain the throwable hierarchy. So let's understand exception handling is managed using 5 keywords in Java. We have try, catch, finally, throw, and throws. It also a program to handle runtime environment or runtime errors gracefully without crashing. The throwable hierarchy at the top is throwable class, which has 2 main branches. The first branch will be errors and second will be exceptions. Like errors are basically serious problems that applications should not try to catch, and exceptions are basically conditions that an application should catch. This is divided into two: runtime exception and other exceptions, which are unchecked and checked. So checked is basically environment errors like missing files, and runtime exceptions, which is unchecked exceptions like logic errors, as I told you in previous question. The next question will be discuss inter-thread communication using wait, notify, and notify all. So this is the most important question. Inter-thread communication allows synchronized thread to communicate with each other about their status, and these methods are defined in the class object class. And we have wait, cause the current thread to release the lock, and wait until another thread calls. Notify for that same object, and notify is for wakes up a single thread that is waiting on the object monitor, and notify all is basically for wake up all threads that are waiting on the object monitor. Example scenario, we will take example in a producer consumer problem. The consumer calls wait if the buffer is empty. Once the producer adds data, it called notify to wake up the customer. The next question will be explain byte streams versus character streams. So Java provide two type of streams to handle input output operation based on the data format. So byte stream basically processes which data size will be 8 bit byte, and processes 16-bit Unicode characters. Usage will be best for image, audio, and binary file by byte stream, and character stream is basically used for best for text files and internationalization. Base classes will be input stream, output stream, and in character stream we have reader writer. We have an example. So file input stream basically byte. So file input stream FIS is equals to new, and file input stream image.jpg reads raw bytes, and file reader basically characters we will given in this. So file reader FR is equals to new file reader, and node.txt we have to read this file. So this is basically example of like base byte stream, and we have this example of character stream. Moving to the next unit, which is unit 3, Java new features. Let's understand 2 marks questions or discuss. So the first question will be, what is functional interface? This is the most important and viral question. A functional interface is an interface that contain exactly one abstract method, and it can have number of default and static methods. It primarily used to provide a target type for lambda expressions. So example, runnable, comparator, these are the functional interfaces we use, and annotation is used for there is as the rate functional interface. What is the syntax, or write the syntax of a lambda expression? So let's understand. Lambda expression is a basically short way to represent an anonymous function, which is a form of creating big functions into a small expression. So we have a syntax like parameter list, we want, and arrow, curly braces, and inside the curly braces we have to write the body of the function. We want to create, if we want to create addition function lambda or addition lambda expression, so we have to give the parameters like two variables a and b, and arrow, and a plus b is the body, where the function, which is the function body, but performing in this function, this will consider in this. So we will want to like add a plus b, so we will write here a plus b for addition function. Moving to next question, which is Java recorder. So Java recorder is basically introduced in Java 14 and are a special type of class designed to act as data carriers. They automatically generate the constructors getters equal, like getter equal method, hash code, two string methods, significantly reducing vulnerability to define sealed classes. So sealed classes basically allows a class or interface to restrict which other class can extend or implement it, and it provides more control over the inheritance hierarchy using the sealed and permits keywords. The next question will be, what is the use of var keyword? So var keyword is used for local variable type interference. It allows the compiler to guess the data type of local variable based on the value as assigned to it, and making the code cleaner. Example is var name equals to Gemini, and compiler known it is a string. moving to 7 or 10 marks questions. The first question will be stream API and explain intermediate and terminal operations. So stream API is basically used to process collection of objects, and a stream is a sequence of objects that supports various methods which can be pipelined to produce a result. Intermediate operation is basically these runs a new stream and do not execute until a terminal operation is called. And we have filter and map method inside this. Filter elements based on the condition, and map is basically transforms elements. Terminal operation is basically triggers that stream processing and return a final result. We have for each and collect theirs to iterate over elements, and collect is basically to convert the stream back to a collection. The next, this is the code of like stream API. You can refer from this. The next question will be explain default and static method in interface. So before Java 8, interface could only have abstract method, but when Java 8 is introduced, we have default and static methods as well. So default method is basically these have a method body and use default keyword, and they allow you to add new functionalities to a interface without breaking the classes that implement it. This is an example of creating this. So interface, my interface, and default method is created here. And the next will be static method. These are similar to static method in classes, and they belong to the interface itself and cannot be overridden. They are usually for utility method. So interface, my interface is the interface, and static method is info, which uh, prints the static info. The next question will be method reference and their types. So method reference is basically a shortened for Java Lambda expressions to call a existing method. They use double colon operator, as I told you in unit third. We have static method reference like class name double colon method name, which is written like s integer dot parseInt and becomes integer double colon parseInt. Instance method is basically particular object colon method name. Instance method arbitrary object like class name double colon method name. There is a two which are s1 dot compare to, so comparing s1 to s2. And we have fourth one, which is constructor reference class name double colon new. The last question will be explain try with resource versus the only old finally approach. So try with resource is basically Java 7 plus is an exception handling mechanism that automatically close resources and at the end of the statement. And the improvement will be old in the old ways, like you had to manually close a resource in a final block, which was aborts and prone to null pointer exception if the resource failed to open. And modern way is basically you declare the resource inside the try parenthesis. It must implement the auto closable interface. This is a code. All these are the questions and most important questions of unit 1 to 3. If you like this video, thanks for watching.